I have crippling depression. Hello and welcome to my channel, a channel of which that you probably have clicked and now wondering, why am I watching this YouTube wannabe, when I could be watching a different channel that actually have a voice and one that is far more bleepable voice than this text-to-speech. Well, hold on there, little Timmy, I have a purpose here, and the reason for me to make this video is so that I can help people to grasp the unfathomable thing that is Limbo. Okay, if you're still here, little Timmy, I might as well explain as to how I use this Limbo. First thing to keep in mind is Limbo's passive. His dodge or roll allows him to enter and exit what is called the rift. A portal is left behind him when he dodges or rolls to enter the rift, and he gains 10 energy per enemy kill in the rift. The rift itself allows you to gain 2 energy a second. First ability is called Banish, and just like the namesake, it banishes enemies or players to the rift. This ability works with your passive, meaning depending on what plane you are on is depending on whether you banish enemies or players to the rift, or to send them out of the rift. And it's important to know that if your enemies are in the rift, and you're not in the rift, you cannot damage them with your weapons, but however, ability damage works regardless of whether you're in the rift or not. It is an AoE ability, where it can banish multiple enemies or players at once into or out of the rift. Oh yeah, and it can also knock down enemies, and do some damage, but we're not using this ability for damage now, are we? It's important to keep in mind of this ability knockdown, it can be helpful. Ability 2 is called Stasis. Stasis is an ability that stops time, literally, but only in the rift. All projectiles in the rift are stopped. Bullets, arrows, grenades, you name it, if it can be shot out of something it is stopped in the rift with stasis activated, but melee weapons are unaffected by this ability, so if you're in the rift, and stasis is active, you can go up to that level 100 Billy that has downed you at least once, and proceed to fart in his face, then stab him repeatedly until he is dead, or to make memes, whichever is cool. Okay, third ability, little Timmy, are you still awake? You better not be sleeping on me, little Timmy. No, good. So ability number 3 is called Rift Surge, or as I like to call it, do you think your suffering will end by simply waiting for my first ability to run down, and then you will be free of this torment? How about no? Not only will your suffering continue, but I have also brought your friends in here too so that they can suffer as well. Muhahahaha. But seriously, Rift Surge is basically to extend your first ability, to keep enemies in the rift or to bring new enemies into the rift, without you having to go out of the rift. If you kill an enemy in the rift, then the Rift Surge effect will go to an enemy outside of the rift. Do you understand, little Timmy? I am going to take that unsure nod as you got it. Moving on. Fourth ability, Cataclysm, aka Tear Reality, a new one. Cataclysm is an ability much like your first ability, in which it can banish multiple enemies or players to the rift. The function on how this ability does so is different. Rather than simply banish enemies to the rift, Limbo creates a bubble. Inside of the bubble is the rift and outside of the bubble is the mortal plane, and the ability can be toggled on or off. This ability is pretty self-explanatory. You see that sphere? Go in it, you're in the rift. Step out of it, you're in reality. Little Timmy Dagnabbit, get your face off of your desk and pay attention, and wipe off the drool off of your desk too. We're not done yet. Time to go over some synergies. Get out your pen and paper, little Timmy, and remember these. Activate stasis, then banish some enemies, then dodge to go in the rift. Your enemies are stopped. If you want more enemies in the rift, without you having to go outside of the rift, you can activate Rift Surge, and then banish the Rift Surge target to get them out of the rift. This will rebanish the enemies you targeted, and it will also banish any nearby enemies to the rift as well. Another combo is, activate Stasis, then cast Cataclysm, then cast Rift Surge, then deactivate Cataclysm. This will stop all enemies, and the greatest way to stop enemies without you having to be out of the rift to do so, and it's the best synergy for facing nullifiers, rather than your Cataclysm going down, and all enemies will be out of the rift and unpaused. Enemies that had the Rift Surge effect on them will be rebanished, and still affected by your stasis. Ha, you hear that Nalise, Limbo is not completely useless against you. Another great synergy is to cast Cataclysm, then cast Banish on enemies. This will knock down enemies without them going out of the rift since the enemies are still in Cataclysm. This is the best synergy for playing with teammates, and pretty much the only way that I know how to not get reported as much for using Limbo's abilities. Now I know what you are thinking, little Timmy, what does all of this look like when you know how to play the classy boy Limbo? Well, little Timmy, I'm glad you said so, cause I am going to show you.
Make your presence known. Activated water supplies.
There's a sanctuary targeting around here. They sense it. Traffic on the surface is scary. Don't let it escape.
Another life support capsule is now available. Life incoming. Life support activated. Additional life support has arrived. Extraction is available. The operative has just made their first discovery. Keep up the work. Tenno, prepare for life support. Tenno, extraction is ready.